Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to get into it.
Awesome. Today we're looking at, well, this is a pretty big one actually, the future of the US dollar.
Yeah, no small topic. And specifically, how that future might be impacted by the rise of the BRICS nations.
Exactly. We're taking most of our info from a recent episode of the Hope and Lifestyle podcast. They had a really interesting segment about this whole thing. And, well, things are getting a little spicy, to say the least. Former President Trump actually issued a pretty strong warning to the BRICS.
Oh, yeah, this was hard to miss. Basically saying that any attempt to, let's say, mess with the dollar's global dominance would be met with some pretty hefty tariffs. Like, we're talking 100%.
Yeah, 100% tariff. So, it's serious stuff, which kind of makes you wonder, is the dollar really in danger? Like, could the BRICS nations actually pull this off? Could they really challenge the way things are right now in the financial world?
It's a big question for sure. I mean, first of all, I guess we need to maybe lay some groundwork. Like, what exactly are the BRICS and what are they trying to do here?
Yeah, good point. Fill us in. What are we dealing with here?
Okay, so BRICS originally stood for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the big emerging economies. But it's actually grown quite a bit since then. Now includes Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, wow. So it's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And there are even more countries kind of waiting in the wings, like Turkey, Azerbaijan, Malaysia, wanting to join the club. So we're talking about a pretty significant chunk of the global population and the global economy all working together. And, well, one of their big goals is to move away from using the US dollar for pretty much everything.
Right. That's what we're talking about when we say de-dollarization,
Oh,
right?
exactly.
And I've heard that term thrown around a lot lately, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it. Can you break it down for us? Like, why is this such a big deal for the BRICS?
Sure. So basically, de-dollarization is, well, it's all about reducing dependence on the US dollar, for trade, finance, all that. The BRICS have a few reasons for wanting to do this. One is just, independence. They want to call the shots in their own financial systems.
Makes sense.
Then there's the whole issue of, well, power. Remember when Putin accused the US of weaponizing the dollar?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he has a point. The U.S. can and has used its control over the dollar to put pressure on other countries, like what happened after Russia invaded Ukraine. The U.S. froze Russian assets, the ones in U.S. dollars anyway, basically cut them off from their own money.
Yeah, I remember that. That's a pretty strong example of how much power the dollar gives the U.S.
Exactly. So the BRICS, they want to avoid being in that position.
Gotcha. So they're not just talking about this, they're actually taking steps to make it happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're already discussing a new payment system, basically a rival to SWIFT, that global system for international transactions.
Yeah.
A BRICS-led alternative would let them bypass the dollar altogether, trade directly in their own currencies, or maybe even create a new reserve currency backed by, like, a basket of BRICS currencies. That's the kind of future they're aiming for.
Wow. Okay. That is ambitious. But I mean, the dollar is still pretty dominant, right? Like 58% of global reserves, last I heard. And isn't oil still mostly traded in dollars?
Yeah, all true. And research from the Atlantic Council, that's a pretty well-respected think tank, suggests that the dollar's probably going to stay on top, at least for a while. The U.S. financial markets are huge, very liquid. The dollar's just so deeply woven into everything. Plus, there's still a perception that the U.S. economy is, well, relatively stable.
Right, makes sense. But even if the BRICS don't completely replace the dollar, couldn't all this still weaken it over time?
Definitely possible. Any shift away from the dollar, even if it's slow, is going to have big ripple effects. Could lead to a more fragmented financial system, maybe even make things more volatile.
Interesting. So how does Trump's tariff threat play into all of this? Like, what would actually happen if he imposed those tariffs?
Well, honestly, 100% tariffs on the BRICS. That's basically an economic war. We'd be talking about massive disruption to global trade. Prices would skyrocket for everyone. Both the U.S. and the BRICS would feel the pain, for sure. The question is, would it even work? It's a really aggressive move, and who knows what the long-term consequences would be.
Yeah, it seems risky. Especially considering, well, Trump's not exactly known for backing down from a tariff threat.
True. Remember what happened with Canada and Mexico? He threatened tariffs there too, but in the end, things got sorted out through negotiations.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's hard to say if he'd actually go through with it against the BRICS. I guess it depends how badly he wants to maintain the dollar's dominance. And of course, there are all sorts of political and economic factors to consider.
Right. It's like a big game of chess. You have the U.S. trying to hold on to its power, and the BRICS trying to change the game entirely. It's hard to predict who's going to come out on top.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big question, the one I think everyone should be thinking about. What would a world with a less dominant dollar actually look like?
Yeah, what would that world be like?
Would it be more volatile? Would we see more currency swings, more economic instability? Or could it actually lead to a fairer system, one where power is more evenly distributed? It's a tough question. There are no easy answers, but it's definitely worth exploring.
Absolutely. Lots to think about. And that's what we love to do here at the Deep Dive. So thanks for joining us for another fascinating exploration. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
Always a pleasure.
See y'all soon.